Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Reading the Red this Wednesday morning. And it's quite bright out there, and we're going to, I think, have quite a nice day. It was beautiful yesterday. Matthew chapter 19, and today we're coming to the end of this particular consideration regarding the marriage and the divorce. And in verse 9, we read, "And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, except for immorality, and marries another woman, commits adultery." So Jesus is saying these things, right? That's what we need to first of all look at. It's Jesus who is speaking, and he's giving the foundational perspective as it relates to how God intended it in the very beginning. So if God said it in the beginning, and Jesus is reiterating the reality of what God said in the beginning, and we believe as Christians that Jesus is God, the Son, and therefore he came to bring truth to the world, we have to accept that what Jesus has to say about whatever, including this, is God's intention, his best, his perfect best. Now, Jesus in the declarations already has revealed that we're working with people who are not working in God's best. But if we want to know what God's best is, this is what God's best is. Now, we have moved as a human race far away from God's best in so many areas, as well as we have moved away in marriage. And so when Jesus makes reference to the various different factors in this verse, and he says, "I say to you," so he's saying, take note of me, "I say to you, whoever divorces his wife," and that means sends her away, says to her, "You're no longer my wife," 3 times, and he throws her out. Jesus says, that's not God's way. I know you got round Moses to make that away, but that was not God's way. And so I don't want you to be doing that anymore, in effect, is what he's saying. He's saying that's not God's way. He's saying except for immorality. So I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for immorality. And immorality is fornication. It's sex, in effect, before marriage. It's the reality of having intercourse, sex, before marriage. And if basically you find out that your wife wasn't a virgin when she was married, you can kind of divorce her, because that's the only justifiable reason for committing that act of divorce. Or if your wife or husband went astray, then again, you had a right to divorce on that basis. But they were the only basis that the Bible teaches us that is permissible for divorce, except immorality, and marries another woman and commits adultery. So the reality of committing an act of inappropriateness, adultery, is wrong, and it's permissible to become divorced from that point of view. But notice it says a man shall marry his wife. You know, we've moved so far away from what God's best is in so many areas. But the world and marriage and God's idea of marriage, a man shall leave his father and mother, be joined to his wife, two shall become one flesh. All of that is being attacked. And people will do that. They're doing that in all sorts of areas. They're giving themselves over to all sorts of practices, because society has moved the line and has said these things that we permit are now acceptable. And they may well be acceptable in society. And it may well be that we have to accept the reality of what society is saying. It may become laws, but it isn't what God said. It isn't what God intended. And the more we move away from God, the more we're going to become broken as a society, as a world. The more the things in our lives won't work the way God intended them to work. So difficult things to accept, because we're in real battles. Have a great day. Be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow.